Hello, thank you for watching. I'm Karen Peterson, presenting my older adult oral presentation for human behavior in the social environment 1. So, an introduction to my older adult interviewee. My older adult was born in 1948. Her pronouns are she, her. So she identifies as female. She's very philanthropic. I met her because she gave generously to my nonprofit that supported homeless women and children. In our community, we sort of consider her a socialite, if you will. And my nonprofit is not the only organization that she supports. She supports the LGBTQA plus community. She has been awarded for her work in HIV/AIDS support and research for over 30 years worth of work. And in her words, she always believes in helping the underdog or helping people who can't help themselves. My person has never been married, has no children. And I thought this was an interesting fact about her, that she graduated high school the year I was born. Moving on to Erickson's developmental stages, I chose stage 8. I thought it was really appropriate and that my interviewee would be a great example of this stage. And at stage 8, this stage is entitled Integrity versus Despair, and it's in older age. And Erickson states that people in older age reflect on their lives and take inventory of their successes. People who are satisfied with what they have accomplished have a sense of well-being and peace, and those who are not satisfied have a sense of despair and mourn lost opportunities. So I thought this was a really, really good example. My interviewee would be a good example of someone who was satisfied with her accomplishments and has that sort of sense of well-being and peace. And you'll see how evident that is as we go into the different stages and how she came to this place. So this slide discusses important experiences in the interviewee's life from this particular stage. First of all, some of the important experiences in my person's life was that helped her to become the person she is today came from the fact that she learned work ethic really early on, taught to her by her grandmother and her mother. She learned that she could own property and that she could be self-sufficient. So both her mother and grandmother owned property early on, at a time where Black women in particular, if my person was born in 1948, you can imagine how far back this goes, where Black women really did not own property. So this was groundbreaking for their family. She learned that women held just as much power as men. And that women had a very important role in society, and that Black women were powerful. So that was a great lesson for her to learn then. She also learned that giving back was good and that it played a role in building community. And so here at stage 8 in her older years, she is successful. She has substantial worth. She is vibrant, very active in her community and enjoys life, and she has minimal regrets. And these are her exact words. She understands that in this stage of life, she is enough. And I thought this was really interesting that she learned these lessons decades ago, but they played out in her life today, and it's so evident. And then when we look at the other theory that I included about wisdom that is learned at a young age, supports people in their older age. And so I thought this was a very, very good point to bring out here. And then this slide discusses some of the difficult challenges, but also some of the accomplishments that my person experienced in their life, and that how it's related to their developmental stage today. So some of the difficult experiences that she experienced were racism, of course. She experienced racism in the community and at work. And one of the stories that she's told me about racism in the community was when she traveled to the South. She remembers seeing signs that said colored only or Negro only, and there would be an arrow pointing in the direction that black people should go for things like using the restroom or going into restaurants. And there would be restaurants and places that she would be interested in going, but she would not be allowed to. And she said that her mother would just grab her by the shoulders and just guide her in the direction that black folks could go into. And that stood out to her. They traveled south to visit family, and from Philadelphia to Virginia, and there was no stopping. So you had to, it was a straight run. You had to go to the bathroom. Your belly had to be full. Because they were not allowed to, it would not have been safe for them to stop in certain places. So I thought that was really, really interesting. But also she experienced racism at work. In one of her positions, she was the only black female, or one of the first black females in that position. And she said that at that time, you only had a plan A, and plan A had to work. There was no plan B to move forward. So plan A had to work. Of course, she also mentioned that she experienced sexism as a woman. No matter where she came into a position in the community or at work, she always started at the bottom, even if she did not deserve to be there. And she heard comments, things like, oh, let her get it, or where is she? But some of the positive things that came out and played out in her life from things that she learned were that she was able to buy, sell, and rent properties for over 30 years. And when I asked her how many, she did not tell me. But enough. She worked in the financial industry for 40 years, and she learned so much in that industry about managing money. Also, every day she states that she is grateful, and she establishes sub goals. So she'll write out an agenda for herself on a daily basis. She has great friends that she looks forward to spending time with. She is someone who looks forward to the morning. So she says at night she prays and she recites daily affirmations for the next day, which I thought was really, really profound. Okay, so this slide briefly describes the psychosocial crisis of your chosen developmental stage. There are many, but some of the ones that she and I pointed out and thought were relative was a person at this stage 8, an older age individual, would be thinking to themselves, have I done all the things that I desire to do in life? Is there anything more that I would like to do or that I did not get to do? And if so, do I still have time to do it? Is it feasible for me to do it? Can I afford to do it? Will my body or my cognitive ability allow me to do such things? Another crisis that could come about at this stage is folks are thinking about whether or not they have saved enough money to live out the rest of their days, and they don't know what those days, how long those days will be, right? But do they have enough money? Do they have enough resources to live out the rest of their days? And what are they going to do with the things that they acquired after they are gone? Another consideration at this stage is there community that is relative to this stage and age in life? So does an older person feel valued and useful in their community? Do they have people that they can still connect with? And then is their health compromised at this stage? Are there any cognitive or physical deficits? And if so, are they being addressed? And is the person at this stage keeping their mind active? And how do they do that? Do they have any regrets in life? Is there anything that would take them back to that place where they might not be satisfied and have a sense of despair or mourn lost opportunities that could happen at this developmental stage? And lastly, but very, very importantly, are there any mental health issues? Is there any depression? Is the person at this stage lonely? I can tell you that my interviewee stated that she is not lonely. She does not have many regrets, and that she is going to enjoy her life to the fullest.